Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Back to Homeschool Week 2025. I don't know how many years I have been doing Back to Homeschool Week. I'm at least more than 5, that's all I can remember. But I started this tradition years ago here on my channel and I am so excited to be doing it again this year, 2025. So for those of you who are new here or have forgotten how Back to Homeschool Week works, Monday through Friday of this week, I will be sharing a Back to Homeschool themed video every single day. And in each video, there will be a giveaway for you guys from one homeschool company that we know, love, and use in our personal homeschool. So these giveaways are all hand selected by me. They're companies that I reached out to because we love them and we've used them for years, or we've really enjoyed what we've seen from them. So rest assured that all of these different giveaways have my blessing because I have chosen them personally. So the information for each giveaway will be in the description box below each day of this week. And for most of the giveaways, you have 1 week to enter. So if you're watching this past a week, I apologize, the giveaway will be closed, but a lot of them will have discount codes or information for you still that would still be valid. So we are kicking things off, as we always do, with our homeschool schedule, because that is the one that I think I get the most questions about over the summer. And so I love to start our Back to Homeschool Week videos with our homeschool schedule for the upcoming year. So that's our daily schedule, our weekly schedule, and an overview of our whole school year schedule as a whole, like which weeks we're taking off, how many weeks we're homeschooling, etc. And then I kind of refer back to this video all week long as I share other things. So lots of fun stuff coming up this week. I hope you guys are excited. If you are, give this video a thumbs up. And before we kick off our homeschool schedule, I'm so excited to share our first giveaway and video sponsor of Back to Homeschool Week. So here's a little bit of information about today's giveaway, and then we'll hop right into our schedule. We are kicking off Back to Homeschool Week with an awesome giveaway. Today's very first Back to Homeschool giveaway partnership is with Wendy from Plan Prep Pray, and she is giving away one of her home management and homeschool planner bundles. So not only will you receive her 2025-2026 home management and homeschool planner, but you'll also receive the daily pages as well as some accessories. So the daily pages are super cool because there's a place for you to write down your top priorities for the day, a little bit of like gratitude and prayer list, an hourly schedule, some habit trackers, meal plans, notes. It's so convenient. I feel like this entire planning system that Wendy has created is like taking a homeschool mom brain and putting it on paper. I am so incredibly impressed with the way that she has woven in the practicality of planning for both home management as well as homeschool with the beauty of scripture and prayer. It's incredible. So the daily pages are really neat. And then the home management and homeschool planner is an incredible resource. So at the very beginning, you have a whole bunch of pages all about just kind of like setting yourself up for success. You're talking about developing your why with homeschool and goal setting and routines. But then there's also a ton of inspiration about setting routines and seasonal routines and daily routines. There's a place for you to keep track of your curriculum. There's a homeschool planning formula, quarterly planning and goal setting, a reference sheet with tons of memory verses and attributes of God, which is such a cool resource to have right there in your planner when you're tempted to go toward overwhelm, just to have that list, that quick list that you can hit when you need it of attributes of God and memory verses. There's a place for you to keep track of your year at a glance as a whole, and then a bonus QR code for a ton of video resources to help you with your planning. And then it's just got a ton of scripture woven in, which is so sweet. And then every month has a monthly calendar overview, a place for you to jot down all of your intentional prayer lists. So praying for people who are lost, praying for relationships, praying for the world, your church, your community, your own homeschool, a place to keep track of any prayer updates. And then there's monthly goal setting as well. and then some weekly planning pages and some menu planning spaces, a place for you to just have a little brain dump for the month, which is really cool. And then you go into actual weekly planning pages for each week of that month. And then at the end of the month, what I really loved is there's a place for your reflections for that month, what you did well, where you need to improve, what you're grateful for, some priorities for the next month. It's just so beautiful. But on top of it being really inspirational and incredibly practical and encouraging all mixed together, it's also amazing quality. I wish I could have each of you just like pick this planner up out of my hands. The cover is wipeable. It's got a really neat dry erase bookmark that you can clip throughout that has a place for you to keep track of your week and your daily habits. The pages are nice and thick, and I know I can use nice markers with it, and it's not going to fall apart on me, which is really convenient considering that this is a place for me to keep record of my prayer life, my family life, my homeschool life, and my home management, and all of my cleaning, and all of my goal setting, and everything. It's really, really neat how it contains all of that, and that the quality is good enough to sustain all of that throughout the year. So these planners are actually already sold out for the year, but Wendy held on to a bundle for you guys. I had reached out to her a while back after she sent me one, and I said, I would really like to give this away for my Back to Homeschool week. I think that it would be a really special prize. So there is a bundle left for one of you, an exclusive bundle since it's all sold out. But if you're interested, she will be soon releasing for pre-order next year's planner. So make sure you check that out, because this is one that I will certainly be ordering for myself next year. I'm so thankful for an all-in-one type of resource. So if you're interested in entering today's giveaway, make sure you check that info out in the description box down below. Thank you so much, Wendy, for hanging on to one of these for one of my subscribers. And let's get into the scheduling content. All right, good luck everyone. As I mentioned, the information for that giveaway is in the description box down below. Thank you so much, Wendy, for partnering with me on today's giveaway. I'm really excited to see who wins. Okay, we are going to hop right into our schedule for the year. And one mention, you guys are gonna hear this throughout the week quite often, and there will be one whole video dedicated to this topic. But this year, we have something that's never happened in our homeschool before. I have one preschooler. My 3-year-old will be starting preschool with us. One elementary aged kid. This may be the first time ever that I've only had one kid in elementary. So that's my daughter who's going into 3rd grade. I have one kid starting middle school, so one son going into 6th grade, and we kind of change things up a little bit here in middle school in our homeschool. One son starting high school, my oldest son is starting 9th grade, and my 11th grade daughter is full-time, going to dual enrolling full-time at a Christian university this year, which was slightly unexpected from my plans last year. I hadn't anticipated that, but everything just made sense and the Lord worked it out perfectly. And so she'll be doing stuff with us still, but for the most part, her core subjects are going to be dual enrolled. So we have one kid starting preschool, one in elementary, one starting middle, one starting high school, one kid starting college. Like, this is insane. I never anticipated this spread when I was having all these kids and they were all little and they were all doing all the same stuff together. I knew the day would come where, you know, they were all kind of going off on their own, but I never anticipated that it would kind of all happen in the same year. So it's an interesting thing happening where I can't quite group everybody up the same way that I used to. So that schedule had to be tweaked a little bit. If I could pick a favorite schedule ever that we've ever had, it would be our schedule from last year, where I gave them, they're all very active in their sports. My 3rd grader on up, they all have almost 5 days a week in their activities: football, cheer, competitive dance, and everything else in between that comes seasonally. So because of that, they play sports at a local school, and so a lot of them have to leave in the early afternoons for their sports. And so the margins for us that were once the afternoons I transferred to the mornings last year, and we didn't start school till later in the morning, so they could have kind of that downtime first thing before their afternoons got busy. This year we cannot afford a late morning start just with what everyone's doing this year. So I'm hoping that I love this school year plan. I'm really looking forward to the schedule tweaks I had to make, but I think last year was like the golden year. I really loved last year's schedule. So if you're interested, I will link that video up here if you guys want to check that out, because I don't regret those decisions last year. I really loved that schedule. Okay, so the very first schedule I'm going to share with you guys is our annual schedule. Usually I start with our daily and then weekly and then annual, but I'm gonna just kind of give you an overview of the annual schedule first, and then I'll break it down into weekly and daily. So I have 36 weeks planned for my kids. 32 of them are going to be active schooling. 4 of them are going to be my older ones continuing some light personal work, but me personally and my younger ones taking a week off. I have enjoyed over the years, save for just a few years when we did a year-round schedule, doing a Sabbath schedule method. If you haven't heard of that, it's like 6 weeks on, 1 week off, 6 weeks on, 1 week off through the 36 weeks. Because of sports starting in August, they start actually late July for us. August, we're kind of just getting used to that heavy sports schedule. So I enjoy starting our homeschool year in the beginning of September. So because of that, I don't want to be doing school until the beginning of July. And so we are not going to take those weeks completely off. I'm going to have my older ones, who I would prefer to have, you know, about 36 weeks of school, on our weeks off doing some reading and math type of things. But for the most part, it will feel like a week off for them with maybe like some homework kind of a deal. But personally, it is incredibly beneficial, especially since my husband is a business owner, for me to just have the weeks off every 6 weeks, to have a break from school planning and all that goes into those busy days, and to be able to like put projects, like house projects that I need to get to, on those breaks. So if I'm feeling overwhelmed and things need to be dealt with, and like for me it's usually like, oh, this pantry needs an overhaul, or I really need to deep clean this area of my house. If I know a week is coming up, then I will wait for that week. If I know that we need to schedule dentist appointments, and with 5 kids, they make us stagger the appointments, you know, then I will do it on that week. And so having those weeks pre-planned are really healthy for me. So that being said, our first 6-week session is going to start August 27th, which is technically a Wednesday. I'm gonna do kind of like an orientation type day with our kids. I always do like a fun celebratory first day of school, where we do like a tea time, and they do the same interview questions. Since my junior in high school now was in preschool, same little interview. I have them throughout the years. So lots of fun traditions on the first day of school. We don't actually like start our schoolwork until the 2nd or 3rd day. The first few days, I just leave room for us to fall into routine and tweak things as they need to be tweaked. So August 27th, 28th, and 29th are really gonna be more of like orientation days, feeling out the routine, slowly weaving things in. And then September 1st, which is Labor Day, will feel more like our first like full day of school. We don't take Labor Day off because the school that our kids play sports at holds practice that day, so we can't do anything fun anyway, so we do school that day. Although my husband will be home, and his employees have the day off, so he'll be home for that day of school. So August 27th through October 3rd is my plan. Then we plan to take the 6th through the 10th off as our first full break. Then we go another 6 weeks and take the week of Thanksgiving off. Then we will do our holiday schooling up until December 19th, which will be 3 weeks, and then we'll start back mid-January. I usually, after I host all the holidays, and so I know myself, and as much as I would say I would want to start like January 5th, is it? Yeah. I think January 4th or 5th is that Monday. As much as I would want to say like, yeah, let's get back at it, I know that I will need that week to like recover our house from all of the Christmas hosting and Christmas travel and everything. So we will start back January 12th. and do a 4-week little stint there. So that will technically be 7 weeks for that semester, 3 weeks for December, and then 4 weeks from January through February. And that is to give a little grace because our Christmas schooling is really fun, and we usually press pause on most of our other stuff. I don't maybe have them do math or science 5 days a week. And so out of those 3 weeks, they may get 2 weeks of their other subjects done. So I wanted to give us 4 weeks when we first come back to kind of call it 6 weeks or so. Then we'll have a week off in February, do another 6 weeks, take a week off for spring break. And the spring break that I choose for the kids is based on the school they play sports for, as well as the dance schedule for the team that my daughter's on. And because it just doesn't make sense I've done a staggered break before, and it just doesn't make any sense because we'll go to the beach, but then we have to leave. We live in a beach town, so we'll go to the beach during the day, but have to leave early to get everyone ready for sports and stuff. So as much as I like having the beach to ourselves a little bit when the kids are in public school, it just makes more sense for us to take the school break because then we don't have to go to all of our activities at like 2:30. And then we will do another 7-week session leading up until about May 22nd is my plan. And so that's a total of 32 active weeks, but 4 of those breaks I have marked in my calendar here. That will be still some like reading. We are a Charlotte Mason influenced family, so a lot of my kids' work is their own books that they're reading, living books. And so they'll still continue with some reading and then some light math. And then, you know, just depending on if I feel like they're where they need to be, a couple of little assignments. But there will be a lot of flexibility in those weeks to where it feels like they're having the week off. And then of course, my daughter's college schedule, that doesn't stop, but her subjects and the way that that university breaks down the schoolwork, she'll never be doing more than 2 courses at a time. They're shorter semesters. And so when you take off, you know, the family subjects and things that we won't be doing that week, then it won't feel so hectic for her. All right, so that's our annual schedule. Whew, it is a hot late July day here in Florida, and it's like the kind of day where it's like humid in my house too, even though I've got the AC cranked up and the fans on. I cannot catch a breath here. Okay, so that's our annual schedule. And then our weekly schedule, this is another area that has some change from years prior if you have followed along with my channel. So we had to kind of let a lot go this year in order to keep our priorities. We have a lot of commitments, and you know, I had to look through it with my husband and say, what are our non-negotiables? So we love community Bible study. That is going to stay on our schedule for everyone in our house. That's 1 morning a week. And so I had to let a lot of other stuff go. My dancers, we usually schedule daytime privates for them for their solos or duets or whatever. This year I had to go with like the public school schedule that the choreographers had. I just could not afford any more daytime stuff. It's a tough balance with what our kids have going on outside of our house. And so our community Bible study, we love our co-op. We had a great co-op for about 5 years, a Charlotte Mason enrichment co-op, but I had to leave it to the group to, you guys take it from here kind of a thing, and you know, do with it what you will, because it was time for me to back out of running that. I thought it was well established, it's going well, and I kind of gave warning last year, at the beginning of last summer, like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to come back and make it work. And then as the year went on, I was like, I do feel like for my family and our family's needs, we're going to start to phase out. But I'm really thankful that we got that started and going for our community, and it, for us personally, served a huge need at the time. For our middle and high schoolers, it was a middle and high school co-op. But we could not continue on, nor was it any longer like a big need for our personal family, but it has a good system. So hopefully it will thrive with whoever is taking it on. So we had to drop that because we could not afford more days out of the house. while also balancing their sports commitments, while also balancing my daughter's dual enrollment schedule well, and keeping as much together as a family as we possibly could considering her dual enrollment. So, you know, I've got 2 years left with her homeschooling and I want to make the most of it. And so I don't want to overload her, like, we have to have family time. But as much as I can control the schedule and let things go that we don't necessarily have to have in our schedule, I will, just so that our family time feels peaceful and not forced. So we have 4 days a week that are all the same, and then we will have 1 day a week that will be different for our Bible study. And on that 1 day, we don't leave our house until late morning, so we'll still be able to have a little bit of morning time in there as well. So we'll keep our morning routine almost 5 days a week. Sometimes that 5th day, just because of the football schedule, if they're traveling to an away game, might change. But for the most part, we at least have 4 solid mornings a week, most often 5 of our family morning time. And so that feels like a breath of fresh air because I've missed the consistency of that. But like I said, one of those days, our actual subjects, like our core curriculum, instead of doing that at home, we will be away at a Bible study. But all the other days of the week should work. Also on Fridays this year, when we don't have a football game, a lot of times I have one playing varsity this year and one varsity cheerleader this year, and so those football team dinners sometimes happen at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon before they get ready for the game. And so on the weeks where we don't have that, and then obviously after the fall season we won't have that at all, we will go back to our Fun Friday. I have it just written down, Fun Friday or football. So Fun Friday used to not happen a ton, and I'm excited for that to be back formally on our schedule post football season. And that was just because we had to choose what went, like either co-op or Fun Friday, either, you know, this activity or an enrichment day. So we had to let things go. And so, yes, let me work through here. Oh, and the Fun Friday will be the fun 5 in a row projects for my younger ones. And then for my middle schooler and my younger high schooler, that will be redefining school, literature classes, or their handcraft. I do have my kids split up with their handcrafts this year based on age and interest, or some family games or things like that. And a beach day every now and then. But as far as our daily routine goes, which most days of the week we will follow, that will be 8:30 to 9. So our morning time will run from 8:30 to 10. The first half an hour of that, I'm calling it like our couch gathering, because I want to start in our living room and then transition to more of a formal morning basket type thing. There are some parts of our morning basket over the years that have been kind of awkward at a table when we're just like doing our Bible study or we're reading a chapter book. And then there's other parts where we have to be at the table because we're like doing geography or Spanish. And so I thought, well, why don't I just put it all under the same title of morning time, but split it between the couch and the table. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be starting in one place and traveling to the table for the second half of that. And I'll be sharing more about our morning time plans and how I'm balancing that specifically from 3 years old to a junior in high school later this week. So look out for that video if you're interested. From 10 to 12 is my time to be working directly with my younger ones. My 6th grader, that will hinge, he'll float between being considered my younger one and being one of my older ones as the year goes on, just depending on the need. Like if I'm working on like a language arts or grammar lesson, in that instance, he's one of my younger ones because he still needs me directly with him. If it's more of like science or logic, then he's one of my older ones and he can do some of that on his own and I just check in with him. So from 10 to 12, I'm directly working with my younger ones on their individual subjects, 5 in a row, literature, math, things like that. And then my older ones at that point in time are doing their independent work. So we alternate here. That's how I've done it for the last few years. So they'll be doing their independent work with a check-in from mom a little bit. From at 12, we break for lunch, and that is when my younger ones are done. They don't have much independent work, obviously being well, my preschooler, but then being elementary, and then my 6th grader doesn't have a ton of independent work, but that's when my younger 2 especially are completely done. Lunch, quiet time, etc. They don't go into the afternoons. After they have lunch, do their chore, and spend some quiet time. Quiet time's been something that I also neglected a little bit last year, but really needs to come back, especially for my younger ones. My older ones spend the quiet time reading some of their assigned reading or historical reading. My younger ones play, like things like magnets or coloring or doodling. It's just being in your own space for a little while in a quiet house, no technology. Mom is also regulating at that point in the day just to gear up for the busy afternoon. So it's a very peaceful time, either reading or playing with something quietly or doodling or whatever. At that point, from 1 till about 2:30 or 3, I work directly with my older ones. I check all of their independent work a couple days a week, just make sure there's a little check-in happening so that nothing slips through the cracks. And then I also do almost like an afternoon basket style thing with them. And that's when we do things like Shakespeare, Plutarch, some more Bible studies geared for older kids that I want to do with them. What else do we have in there? Financial literacy, economics, government, anything like that we weave in throughout the year happens from that 1 to 2:30-ish time. Now, my daughter's college courses will happen, a big chunk of it will happen in the morning time there, but she will also have room in the afternoon to work on that. If need be, and then of course some evenings as well. If she would like to spend some more time doing that, she can. And that's it, right? Yeah, so 8:30 to 10-ish is our morning time, 10 to 12 directly working with our younger ones, 12 to 1 or so, lunch and quiet time, 1 to 2:30 or 3 is working directly with my older ones and checking their work and giving them, you know, direction if they need some more time to work on things. And that is our schedule, solid schedule 3 days of the week, but then alternating parts of that on our Bible study day and leaving a little room on Friday in case we want to switch things up and do a fun Friday versus that afternoon schedule. So our Fridays will follow that same routine in the mornings, but in the afternoon I might not work directly with our older kids, and I might make that like a fun Friday as a family. Or football, or we just get ready for football games. And that will be our schedule, at least leading us through playoffs in November. And then if things change, if they need to be tweaked a little bit, then we will, heading into late November and Christmas time and then the second semester. But this worked pretty well last year. I kind of planned according to what I knew of the football season, and it worked out really well for us. So I don't anticipate that a lot of this will change, but when football season ends, it frees up our days a little bit, and then we can do a little more sometimes. That being said, we have one other thing that we kind of throw into the schedule once a month, and that is usually a Tuesday tea time, but it's just a tea time once a month where we pause. And for my kids, that would be a morning time, so that my little kids kind of get out of their subjects that day. And we have a poetry tea time as a family, and sometimes it's store-bought treats and sometimes it's themed to a holiday. They never know what they're gonna get because I never know what I'm gonna do that month, how much energy I'm gonna have to put toward it, but that's just an enjoyable time. And so one day a month we'll kind of stop a normal school day and do that instead. But other than that, everything should run according to plan, Lord willing. So that is an overview of our school year as a whole, and then what our kind of weekly breakdown looks like, and a little glimpse into what our daily schedule will be this year as well. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you are excited for back to school week, so am I. Let me know what kind of back to homeschool planning you guys are working on right now. And I will be doing a big Q&A to kind of finish off this week. So if you have questions for that Q&A, go ahead and leave those in the comments down below as well, because I won't be filming that likely until the day before, just so I can kind of gather up the questions as the week goes on. So don't forget to enter that giveaway. Thank you so much, Wendy, for partnering with me on today's giveaway. You guys make sure you go check out those planners, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.